Hi and welcome to this week's episode of the We Are Pod. My name is Kirsty Franks and I am a board member for Women in Estate Agency. As you know by now, every single week we are bringing you stories from incredible people across the sector. We really hope that you're going to love this week's episode. And we also want to say a huge thank you to our partners at Digital Sparks for making this pod possible. They're doing some incredible things for social media content for loads of agents within the sector. So if you haven't yet heard of them, head over to Instagram and give them a follow. So my guest for this week needs absolutely no introduction. From roots in a estate agency to working for one of the biggest brands in the sector, now running her own brokerage. She is truly formidable, and I have a feeling that this week's episode could get a little bit spicy. I am delighted to welcome to the pod Steph Walker.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So I asked you before today if there was any topics that we couldn't cover, and you were like, fill your boots, go for it.
Maybe I'll come to regret that.
Let's see. Let's see if between the pair of us we can stay on track here not.
Try our best.
So let's start from the beginning. Your mum and dad were in a estate agency. You had your own branch at a really young age. Talk to me about your kind of backstory and how that's shaped where you are today.
Well, look, estate agency was dining table chat growing up. My parents had their own 10-branch independent. They had a survey business, a mortgage business. So I suppose, I was known as the daughter of Colletons. That was what the brand was called. Yeah. So I'd like to say it was predestined, and I do sort of tongue-in-cheek say I was born into a estate agency, which everybody cringes at. But I did go to uni. I chose to study music, and I hated it.
Did you?
I hated university, hated the whole concept, hated everybody that was in uni with. I didn't think they had a clue about life.
And we're off. We've only just started.
Just street smart, but maybe it was because I was doing music, So
you did try and fight the whole estate agency thing for a minute.
And then I said to my parents in sort of the March of the first year, I hate this, it's not for me, I'm dropping out. Mum said, well, if you don't get a full-time job, we're kicking you out of the house. So I don't think she actually would have kicked me out of the house. But I was working weekends for a friend of mine in a estate agency. She said, I need a full-time gig, I need to do it full-time. She's like, okay then. And then the rest, as they say, is history.
Amazing. So you were thrown in the deep end pretty quickly, but obviously had it in your blood, had it in your roots. And I guess, most people know, unless they've been living under a rock, that you were then in Purplebricks. And love them or loathe them, there's definitely stories to tell. Listen, as a marketeer myself, I've got to take my hat off to an awful lot of what happened within that business. But I'm really interested in you giving us the kind of warts and all, good, bad and the ugly of what went down.
Did I sign an NDA? No, I didn't know.
You said nothing was off the table, so let's roll with it.
Look, I think... of course, everybody has their own opinion on Purplebricks, and I actually think the intelligent opinion is to say whether I believe in how they operated estate agents, and I am talking sort of early days PB, not whatever the hell that is at the moment.
Yeah.
The intelligent thing is to say they tried something, they absolutely built a brand. I think their unaided brand awareness, insane within a couple of years. And they ruffled some feathers for sure. But I think they did the whole industry an absolute favour. And something I say all the time is, I don't believe any great estate agent lost out a listing to PB. If you lost a listing to PB, it's because you didn't prove your value. So why on earth would anybody have paid any more?
You got to look closer to home.
Absolutely, and I think, we can talk about cheap fees, all of those sorts of things, But the line for me was really, if you're not going to get any more, why would you pay any more?
Yeah, yeah.
So if you are doing a stellar job in your conventional office and you can absolutely show why, almost like an ROI, you choose to list with me, this is what I sell on average to asking price, these are the results I get from my sellers, whatever it might be, there's a good reason why somebody might use you. But if you cannot demonstrate any more value, well, yeah, somebody is going to choose the agent at 665 plus VAT, which is what it was when I first joined.
I mean, it's crazy, isn't it, when you think of that? But tell us about your time there. What went from when you started to, I know it took you overseas and kind of a wild ride for you. How was it?
I mean, what an incredible organisation in terms of culture. And I know culture can be a bit of a polarising word. Does have the word cult in it, and I definitely think PB felt a little cultish at times.
Really?
I think one of the brilliant things was, particularly at the conferences where the year before there was 200 people and then the year after there's 500 and then 700, the overwhelming majority of people in that one room at a conference had a similar belief. We were fighting for the same cause. We knew we were fighting against the rest of the industry as well.
Did that give you a buzz though?
Yeah, absolutely. There is absolutely something to be said about being part of something larger than yourself and feeling a part of not just a movement, but a moment in time.
Yeah,
yeah. And look, could there have been lots of things that happened differently, that we did differently? If you could go back now, why didn't we just charge 1% and do the same marketing and all of these sorts of things? But for a hot minute right there, that was a wild ride. And what I absolutely love to see, so many of the early PB adopters are now business owners in their own right or have gone on to do other great roles within the industry. And flipping heck, that was a real bunch of talented people all together in one room, which should be celebrated.
Where was the turning point though for you?
Well, the UK wakes up at midnight California time and you get an email saying that's the end of the journey. When Vic Darby had looked me in the eyes only 4 weeks before and said, we're not going anywhere.
How did you
feel? So barefaced lies is where it changed for me. But look, I think some of the people that had really been the mainstay of the business had gone to Australia, gone to the US, and obviously I was over there in the US, so I can't quite speak for what it was like in the UK. But I do imagine that it probably started to feel a lot more corporate. It probably started to feel a little bit more sort of micromanagey, shall we say, because again, people are trying to make sure that the leads are converted to get the money back from all that marketing dollars that were spent.
Panic setting in at this point, right?
And I do probably think maybe there's a little bit of a misunderstanding there, but if as an organisation you are providing leads, you need to make sure that those leads are converted. And if those leads are not converted, you have to up and move on to the next person that's going to be able to do that. So I think there's probably a little bit of naivety from people that didn't survive in the world because they couldn't convert. And I think they should probably own that. But Michael and Kenny were such a huge part of the feeling, the culture, the drive. You'd have ran through a brick wall for Kenny Bruce. I sometimes feel like I still have to. And I would continue to do so. But, when that's not there, all of a sudden, I think it probably felt very different in the UK. And then certainly, the US was sort of winding down as Michael and Kenny were either gone or leaving. And that wasn't necessarily a place that you wanted to be. And I think probably for me, all of the things that you sort of are okay with because the people that you love are around you, after you kind of like, well, why are we charging a shit fee?
Yeah. Light bulb moment.
Yeah,
but I think, you can't take away from everything that you just talked about in terms of the ride, what you learn, being in that position, all eyes on you, the cult piece, but that must have been thrilling at the time.
Absolutely.
And I imagine that you wouldn't change it.
Wouldn't change it for the world. actually. And I, saying, oh, we could go back, we could have charged 1% over in the States, we could have been a 1% fixed fee agent, well, all these sorts of things. I wouldn't, because I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Wouldn't, not just like physically in this chair, but yeah, also
the women in the estate agency chair,
yeah. I wouldn't be doing anything of what we're doing now, and actually I think what TAUK are doing now and other people within this style of estate agency are going to be the ones that change it for the better.
So talk to me about that. How did you get to the point of founding the brokerage, founding TAUK? Talk to me about the kind of journey to get to where you are now.
So the very day after the announcement came out that PBUSA was shutting down, I had several people from brokerages that were either just about to launch, I can feel Claire's eyes sort of boring into my head here, either just about to launch in the UK, or maybe those that were having a bit of a resurgence on their coattails, literally in my phone. Yeah. So, do you know what I said? I don't really know what I want to do.
Opportunity spotting.
Absolutely. I can't blame anybody for that. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do immediately, but having talked to those people, what became abundantly clear to me is that we took something that did work in the UK, and I know everybody, Vice Mail and all of those sorts of things. PB worked in the UK, for what it meant, what it was trying to do. Taking another model and rinsing and repeating it in another country isn't necessarily the right thing to do. And so we sat there and said, could we take some of the elements of brokerage and apply that to what we believe a British person wanting to pay a really good fee for a really great service would look for. And we, I believe, took more elements from the Australian model than necessarily the US, because we are both overarchingly a brand as well as promoting the agent's personal brand.
Just give me a little bit more on that in terms of what you brought from the Australian model and what that means for you.
So in Oz, you've got McGrath, Harcourts, these big brands. They speak about a certain type of experience. They look a certain way. And you'll choose somebody because of that sort of ethos that they're promoting. And then there's a great agent that's famous in their local suburb that goes alongside that brand. And there's probably reasons why that agent chose to align with that particular brand and those sorts of things. And I think intrinsically, British people love a brand. It's why we shop at John Lewis and Waitrose. It's why we love driving Beamers and Mercs. Yeah. We're very much a keeping up with the Joneses type of scenario. Yeah. But I also think, personal estate agency for me, so one great estate agent owning the process from start to finish, that has some skin in the game, that's really invested in a great outcome for the client, that for me is the best version of estate agency I've ever seen. But agency in the UK is largely faceless. We may be able to name a couple of brands in estate agency, and there's lots of data on that, but can we name people?
Well, otherwise, why are vendors going out and getting 5 different agencies coming and doing a valuation on their property? It's just scattergun approach, right?
Absolutely. And so, one, we are re-educating the British public that you're going to deal with an individual rather than a team and all these sorts of things. And for that particular agent, they are now going to start building their personal brand. And that is going to be something that for the vast majority of estate agents is a brand new journey. Yeah. So there's going to be certain people in your local area if you were to launch your personal estate agency business, and some people are naturally going to come to you, or some people will have been searching for you and eventually they find you. But what about all the people that don't yet know you, that haven't yet experienced you? And personal estate agency is a low volume model, so it's going to take some time before that word starts to spread. So the brand speaks to what you're about in rooms that don't yet know you. Yeah. And that, for me, is truly important.
So it's giving you that platform, that vehicle to kind of give you that head start before you get your own personal brand out there. Yeah. And I definitely want to come on and talk more about personal brand with you. For me in particular, it's something very close to my heart. I could talk to you about it all day. But actually, I just want to kind of take another little step backwards around how you then started the business, because there's a big difference between having a estate agency in your blood to then working for one of the biggest brands in the UK to then being, okay, I'm going to set this up myself, and I can't just be an estate agent. I've got to be all of these different things that it takes to set up and run a successful business. talk to us about you kind of setting up the business, starting, and what did you find challenging in that?
Well, I was probably wildly naive.
I think anybody that starts a business is, yeah?
And it's interesting because the whole reason we exist is so that people can start their own estate agency business and not have to wear all the hats, of which most of them they've never done before or have no interest in doing. And actually they can just focus on
be estate
selling
agents
homes really fucking well.
Not worrying about the marketing, the finance, the everything else that comes with it. Yeah.
But ultimately, in order to create that environment, we have had to have gone through that. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend, actually, just join a brokerage. Much easier. But I suppose having seen the rise of Purplebricks and, you know, although I've been a lifelong estate agent, certainly the PB journey took me into many different aspects of business, estate agency and business and all of those sorts of things. So I felt we probably had, between myself and Andy and Mark, quite a wide skill set. Not in that we're masters of everything, but we'd kind of done a little bit of everything through that journey. But yeah, you know, sleepless flipping nights.
Do you class yourself as an estate agent or a businesswoman?
It's really strange, actually, because I've been an estate agent all my life. And they're like, no, actually, I haven't been an estate agent all of my life. So yeah, I don't think I quite take myself serious enough to call myself a businesswoman. I think I just call myself founder, because it kind of sounds nice-ish.
I just
also very
do
vague.
some stuff.
Yeah, I do some things and things happen. But yeah, I suppose, yes, I am a businesswoman that still loves estate agency.
Yeah, okay. So there's an awful lot of talk, you know, we see it and read it in the trade press all the time around the difference between traditional agency and all of the kind of new models that are coming out and around personal agent. And you've touched on it a little bit in terms of the difference and what it means, but what do you say back to the pushback that traditional agency is the only way forward, it's the only way that's going to sustain? What's your view on that?
So just before I came in here, I had a message on WhatsApp from somebody that's been on the market for almost 3 years now. I want to try a different way. He said, do you know what? The people that work in the office are lovely people, but they've also got 300 houses on the books. And because I've been on the market for a little while, I feel left behind. I don't feel there's anybody invested. I feel a number invested in my journey. And I say this all the time, I don't think any estate agent goes to work to do a shit job. But I certainly hope not. Again, I'll probably say the overwhelming majority of people don't go to work to do a shit job. I knew you were going to correct yourself. But I do think that the programme conventional agents are plugged into doesn't work. There's no expertise, there's no time, there's no ability to really say, look, I'm dealing with somebody's greatest asset. Do I have that time and that energy to be able to dedicate to that individual so that I can ensure that the best outcome is reached? I don't believe in the breakdown of the process. I don't believe having lots of people doing different things within that transaction helps anybody. I think one of the most complained about things in estate agency is this lack of communication. Calling an estate agent's office and you're speaking to somebody else who doesn't know about the story, and it's such an emotionally
you're
charged
lost in
time.
The CRM.
Yes, somewhere in there. You know, and look, are there some brilliant conventional estate agency businesses out there? Absolutely. Yeah. So I know that this can come across a little bit sort of broad brush at times, but the vast majority of them will list anything at any cost. It is just about having the most amount of properties on the books that they can possibly get, knowing that at some point some of them are going to sell. And for me, that's just not good enough. And, you know, because of all of those things, we pay shit wages, so we don't retain talent, or we make it incredibly difficult to attract talent from other industries. And this is somebody's greatest asset. No homeowner in the UK deserves a half-assed approach.
No, I completely agree.
To their equity. And so, you know, the self-employed or the personal agency model, allows that low volume, high touch, dedicated point of contact from start to finish that has skin in the game, I don't think there's any better antidote.
But is it for everyone? So, being self-employed...
I hate this question.
I know. Being self-employed comes with risks. Yeah, it's not for everyone. A lot of people like that comfort of, I know exactly what salary is landing in my bank.
Employed is not secure. Employment is not secure because you are relying on somebody else to pay your paycheck. Invariably somebody that you have absolutely no control over their actions. And particularly if you're in a small independent.
And there's a lot of change going on, a lot of consolidation going on.
I don't think there's any security there at all. I've said this a number of times, the only people that self-employment is not for, because look at the brokerage construct. Everything, depends on what brokerage you join, everything is done for you. There is somebody to go to for everything. The only people it's not for are lazy people or people who lie to themselves. Lazy people, like, just go out and knock a door.
Yeah. Introduce yourself.
They're trying to sell their house and their house isn't sold. I mean, chances are they're going to want to talk to somebody who's going to try and sell their house. Not difficult. And unless you're a real arsehole. I mean, you're going to find somebody who likes you enough to give you a shot at selling their house. Like, do you have any friends or family?
Keep knocking.
I don't know. But the people that lie to themselves are also those that go, okay, so I didn't start my own brokerage and I've joined a brokerage, but I'm not going to listen to anything the brokerage says and I'm going to do my own thing because clearly I'm an expert. Those people, Borinell, my God, you've joined a particular brokerage for a reason.
Yeah.
Look at all the successful people in that brokerage and why not just do what they do?
Yeah. We're giving you the framework. Here's the gift.
Just literally follow those steps.
Yeah.
You know, you get to actually miss some of the missteps those other people took. I always say this, regardless of what brokerage you join, every person that joins after somebody else gets all of the benefit, the wealth and the wisdom that comes down. So the job is not easy, that's a cavalier word, but certainly becomes less difficult to launch successfully. But yeah, if you've got a massive chip on your shoulder and an ego, you know, the size of the high street, probably should stay on the high street.
Which most estate agents don't have, right?
No.
Okay, let's talk personal brand. So I'm interested to have this chat with you. So it's something I've struggled with up until recently, and I've put a real effort on trying to be out there a little bit more and be a bit more open and vulnerable, I guess, around kind of some of the things that I've gone through in my life. I don't find that easy at all. You seem to find that a lot easier. And I love, you know, I follow you on socials. I love what you're doing. I love how authentic you are. And I love how you say what you think and you don't give a shit. Is that really who you are, or is that a front?
So, do you know what? Somebody said to me the other day, you don't care if people don't like you. And then they correct themselves and said, well, actually, no, you do care if people don't like you, but you're still willing to just go ahead and do it anyway.
Do you care?
Do I want people to hate me? No, because I am a human being and I have definitely a fragile ego and, you know, tell me I'm great and please be my friend and it's all fantastic. But I'm also acutely aware that I also don't like everybody. So I don't expect everybody to like me. And actually, wouldn't it just be like quicker to have a laugh and a joke with somebody by going, you're not my person. If I make it abundantly clear that I'm not yours,
that's
okay.
Okay.
I don't need to pussyfoot around.
Yeah.
I won't be sat in, you know, a boring dinner talking to somebody who's going to bore the tits off me and waste my life, because time is a valuable commodity. Let's do stuff with people that we get on with. And in business, you shouldn't always be surrounded by people that you get on with.
No,
because
you need variety.
Yeah, absolutely, and healthy debate and all of those sorts of things. But certainly when it comes to my personal life, my private, my time outside of business, I don't know what that time is, but you know.
I was going to ask you about that, but it might be a short conversation.
That would finish the podcast. But yeah, I definitely see merit in being exactly who you are, and also I think that's one of the beauties about personal estate agency as well. So I'm telling people to get on video. we worry that not everybody's going to like us, but I think one of the best things about being a business owner is that you should never have to do business with people that aren't like-minded again. And particularly if you're an agent joining a brokerage or that sort of setup, you'll probably do a few missteps in the first couple of months, but you'll very quickly think, right, I don't want a client like that again. I want the like-minded clients to me who get who I am and why I do what I do. Because they'll never argue with you on fee and they'll never argue with you on price because they've chosen you because they like your voice and they know that you're the authority for selling homes of their style in your area. And it's just a quicker way to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and that personal brand piece obviously is so vital for anybody that's going down the self-employed model. What advice and hints and tips do you give to anybody then joining your business in terms of, here's the framework, this is what you need to go and do and go and smash it, and that's going to make a big difference?
Well, you can't be a secret estate agent.
No.
So that, first of all, if you're not wanting to be on video, those sorts of things, and I know there'll be people watching this going, I don't need to be on video because I've sold homes in this village for the last 40 years. Absolutely fine. But if you're going down this route, you need to be on video, you need to be on Instagram, you need to be doing stories daily. One, so that those like-minded clients find you that bit quicker. I'm a huge proponent of you're going to have to work hard in your business in the beginning, but the quicker that your business starts working hard for you, the better. And that's all about promotion. So my tip is get yourself 4 different tops. Right?
The uniform.
Top, a summer top, a winter top, have them, and then pick the top 30 most Googled questions that home buyers and sellers have when they're thinking about moving, buying, selling. And you were going to record 15 to 20 seconds about, if I'm a first-time buyer, what's the first thing I should do? Well, absolutely, my advice, if you're a first-time buyer looking to buy a home in Orton, go and speak to a whole-of-market mortgage advisor and understand actually how much money you've got to play with. There you go. There's the first video, everybody. Do that one, right? Do it with your jumper on, your little Christmas jumper with a fucking reindeer. Do it with your vest top on, and a pina colada in hand. And just sit there for 3 or 4 hours, get them done. Evergreen content.
Everyone hates it though, don't they? When they first start trying to do video, but
do you
just
know what
jump in.
I find mad though? Estate agents essentially perform for a living, right? We go and sit on a stranger's couch. It's the whole job.
With your little blue cover overs on your shoes.
Hi, this is me. This is what I do. This is what I do. Da, 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 da. We are performing. We are presenting at all times. So why, when we get the little sort of box of electronics, do we oh no?
I agree with you. I agree with you. And
the other thing is, don't watch them back.
No, never watch them back.
Don't watch
for God's sake.
Just post the buggers.
Yeah, and consistency is absolutely key.
But this is why you just have to bash them out in one session. So I
Yeah.
say, get the different jumpers on. You've got your spring, summer, winter content. You're done. Post away. Evergreen content. You can use it again. You never even have to think about video ever again if you didn't want to.
Yeah, it's so important. And it's amazing how quickly you see a difference when you start posting that. And also, it doesn't have to be perfectly polished all the time.
No.
We're not looking for perfection here. And how do you kind of approach your own socials then? Because there's a real mix across what you're doing and your personal brand in terms of the kind of businesswoman side of things, even though you don't call yourself a businesswoman, and the agency side of things, and then just the true kind of behind the curtain of this is who I am. Is that planned or are you just rolling with it?
Yeah, just rolling with it.
Yeah.
It's kind of how I live my life, really. A bit fly by the seat of the pants, which I'm not advising.
It looks very different from the outside, Steph, I have to say.
Well, from my estate agency content, so I do still sell a little bit. It's, of course, not my full-time job. So I have a very small window of time. I still think it's important that I'm at the coalface, and I bloody enjoy it. But I want to find a very specific client. I want to find a client that already knows I'm expensive before I walk through the door, and that has a lovely home to sell.
Removes the barrier, right?
Yeah. It's got to be Instagrammable. So everything I do, certainly from on the grid, is gorgeous videos, gorgeous photography, and some data.
Yep.
I'm a little bit sort of less professional on stories.
Yeah.
That's a bit more quick, fire it out as and when. But I'm not a fan of spending hours on Canva because I'm not doing a clip-art PowerPoint.
And you've got a life.
School, and I've also got a bloody life.
Yeah.
And also the people that sit there on Canva and think they've done a day's work have not. Own it.
We're a marketing agency here, Steph. Can we wind it in a little bit?
But again, like know your strengths, right?
Yeah.
But, I think particularly in a estate agency and in personal estate agency, we have this commodity at our disposal, homes. The British public are obsessed with home ownership.
Sexy homes.
We're obsessed with property porn. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, we've got this here. People just want to see nice homes, particularly locally. So we shouldn't be overthinking things.
You should never struggle for content. Ever.
No.
Ever.
Absolutely.
Steph, I've got a million more questions that I want to ask you, and half an hour just goes like this, but I'm going to get eyeballed for running over, but I'm just going to roll a little bit longer, right? Because I have to talk to you about women in a estate agency. I'm really keen to understand your views on why it's needed and what more you think we have to do in the sector.
So I suppose in the beginning, if I'm being brutally honest, not that I haven't yet been throughout this conversation.
Doesn't sound like you.
I was probably a little bit like, oh God, women in a estate agency? Really? But then I suppose I am in a bit of a position of privilege in that my mum was a business owner. So that is just something that is never new to me. And, I was probably fortunate in having the opportunity to run a branch when I was very young. I've never been somebody that's shy to ask for the opportunity. So I was probably a little bit naive in that not everybody has had that same journey or the same opportunities as well. Yeah,
and the same exposure to, like you say, so many successful women around you as well. So that role model in your mum.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I also look at PB. So I was head of customer support. Our head of customer experience was also female, same age as me. And so I've probably had a bit of a different path or a different set of circumstances. But, you then join the Facebook group and you hear of people who are being passed up for opportunities. And then even so much as thinking about the brokerage space and actually how brilliant that is for people who do find it difficult to return to the workforce after having children. And, I always put shoe on the other foot and go, as a business owner, right, I've had Sally go off on maternity leave. John has continued, had another 12 months, 18 months tenure during that time. John should probably get the promotion. But what then happens to Sally? It's a very difficult one. And I think particularly in smaller businesses where there are less opportunity, you probably do just get left completely behind. So I do think, and again, it sounds like I'm sort of, on my own agenda here, but I do think personal estate agency is one great antidote to give people the autonomy to go out there and be truly successful without being pigeonholed in that construct. But I think, overall, we have to keep on banging this drum because people haven't got the voice that everybody else has.
And also you talk about, having, somebody having time out to be a mum and then coming back into work, and should they lose out on an opportunity because somebody else has got more longevity and time under their belt. But actually anybody that's going for any role should be given that role based on their merit. And actually the merit is, what have I learned in that time off? Time didn't stop. The world didn't stop. I bring now something different. I bring new experiences. I bring new humility. I bring new ways of looking at the world. And I think it's just having, the trust that there's, management within our sector that will recognise that and not just go, you've just sat watching this morning for 12 months.
Because they wouldn't say that about their own wife.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So I do think what our industry lacks a whole host of is training in every aspect of anything, be it to even be a bloody good estate agent, let alone how to manage people, but also in a sales environment, who are the people that got the promotions? They're the really good salespeople anyway. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have any skill in managing people. And it's something that takes a long time to learn. And I don't know, why do I run a self-employed business? Probably because I don't want to manage people anymore. I was never good at it. I don't know. it's a conversation for another time. But there's a real delicate balance within management, and I don't think enough people have the skill set to make some of those correct decisions.
And I think, from a women in a state agency point of view, it's exactly what we're trying to achieve with leadership, with support, with empowerment, with being a really safe space to help women who might be struggling in their careers, but then offering the advice and guidance to men and women who are supporting these people within their careers. So I think, for us, I think we're making strides for sure, but I think we still have a long way to go until we get to a point where we have one of these conversations and we say there's no need for women in a state agency anymore because we're all good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think shining a light on it to start with has been brilliant, and how the Facebook group has grown over the last couple of years, and the kind of support that you see in there on a daily basis is absolutely wonderful. I also think for the younger generation, who I just worry about in life in general, but particularly in a state agency, for those to have a safe place to go. But also from the mentoring side, because if you are in an organisation that can't afford training and support and all those sorts of things, which is the majority of them, or that they just don't prioritise it, to know that there's this great group of people who are literally there wanting to see you help you and see you flourish, I think is outstanding. So the real work is continuing to bang that drum, and there must be a ton of people sat there in their offices not knowing this exists.
Yeah. And we've got to keep, like you say, flying the flag, shouting from the rooftops, because we want everyone to be part of it, because it's a pretty special force to be reckoned with, isn't it? I could ask you so many more questions, and I know we have to close very soon, but honestly, Steph, you've been incredible. I have to ask you one last question. We are obviously inviting more and more guests to come onto the pod. Who would you like to be sat in that chair in a coming episode telling their story?
I say it all the time, but Mia Evans. So she is a TAUK franchisee, but she's also a younger woman in a state agency who spent a good number of years on the high street, but never took the branch manager role. She's gone on, launched her own business, is incredibly successful, and I think an absolute shining light for younger people in the state agency to listen to.
Introduce me and we'll get her invited on the pod. Steph, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you to everyone for listening to this week's pod. If you loved it, please like, share, follow us, share it all across your socials, and get in touch with us around who you would like to see on a future episode of the pod. Thanks so much.